Hello everyone and welcome back to part 16 of our MotoGP 24 Let's Play. This time around we're here for the Gran Premio GoPro de Aragon. Yes, round 14 of the season. If you missed out on the video that went live late towards the end of last week, then I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But we've returned once again here to Spain. Currently in the riders standings, it is still for Rossato now with a 46-point lead over Joel Esteban. I mean, we could see a fight between those two towards the end of the year. Esteban getting the better of the Japanese rider last weekend. We are back within 10 points of Tatsuki Suzuki as well after, we finally felt like I got back into my groove inside this game as well. Take a look at some of the other standings. Obviously, Vietti, that gap's really come down now. Just 1 point in it between him and Ogura there. You could really make the argument that it's a 9-way title fight inside Moto 2. And taking a look at the MotoGP standings as well. Jorge Martin's gap at the top down to just 25 points over Francesco Bagnaia as well there. So lots of fights going on across all three of the championships at the moment as well, which is always really exciting to see. Of course, if you're new as well, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. We're trying to hit 3k subs at the moment as well. And obviously F1 Manager, for those of you that want to see that, obviously only 1 week away now from full release. We are going to be playing so much F1 Manager, you guys would not believe it there. But yeah, we've returned, like I said, to Aragon. I've only ever ridden this track or driven it on iRacing, so I don't really know it very well. I know it's a very, very famous circuit though, so we'll wait and see as to how we get on this weekend.
Morning from Aragon. The second Moto3 practice session is about to start. A reminder, the first 14 riders in the combined times will gain direct access to Q2.
Well, I don't know if this circuit ever tried to end up on the Formula 1 calendar or whether it was ever planned to end up on the F1 calendar. What I do know, though, is it is an absolute roller coaster of a venue as well. Built into the side of a hill, it really does use that elevation to its advantage here and certainly makes itself as a rather interesting... It's a very complex circuit as well. So, trying to find the balance this weekend on a motorbike is going to be rather interesting to see how we get on. I'm really going to spend a lot of the early stages of practice just trying to make sure I know where I'm going. And obviously that we get inside that top 14 as always is the first goal. Still aiming, I would like to get a podium by the end of the year in terms of the overall standings. I feel like if we get top 3, then I'm probably able to make the step up to the Moto 2 class, which would obviously be nice, continue to see progress inside this game. The long-term goal remains the same. I still want to try and win the MotoGP crown. So hopefully that will happen in the future. This corner. This is a horrible corner, not only on this track, but just in motorsports in general. And I've gone and fallen off. I couldn't even begin to tell you just what lap times we should be aiming for around this venue or anything like that. I would say, looking at it, probably around the 2-minute mark, maybe. Just a little bit more. But this place is up there with Silverstone as one of the longest laps on the calendar. And this isn't even the full Aragon layout. There's actually another version that you go right to the end of that back straight. We are 5 seconds away from Holgado after the first lap. But to be fair, I did eat tarmac. I mean, you can absolutely tell just how much the Spanish love their bikes, though. This is, such another iconic circuit on the Iberian Peninsula, and it's just, there's so much runoff, there's so much space around the venue. I mean, I think we've got, I know we've discussed this before, I think there's 4 or 5 Spanish circuits on the MotoGP calendar inside this game, from this place to Catalonia, Ricardo Tormo, obviously Portimao in Portugal as well, and I think a couple more that I'm forgetting about. That's a bit of a better benchmark, though. We're still 2.5 seconds off the fastest time. But we're getting there. Another thing I'm learning very quickly is just how difficult it is because there's so many corners that kind of drag in and get tighter and tighter as they go on. And that seems to be still my greatest weakness inside this game, is obviously just finding that absolute limit on the brakes as well there for Rossato. Now into the 202s. I'm not convinced I can get close to that right now. We're going to need to unlock a lot more out of this bike. Because, we're only 0.2 up on a 205. Oh, we're definitely finding a bit more pace then as the session continues through, down into the low 203s. So, yeah, about 1.2 seconds away from fastest. I just want to see one more improvement, maybe into the 202s, and then I think we'll be ready to head into qualifying. Well, taking a look then at our final results from practice sessions, then P7 for us, just fractions away from our teammate Daniel Holgado. This track though, yeah, I mean, it screams a Colin Vire absolute worldie of a lap right towards the end of qualifying there, but it was Ferrosato ahead of Joel Esteban at the top of the board. David Alonso as well, looking very, very strong this weekend, which is a nice welcome surprise. And just behind me, yes, the Spanish Armada of Rueda, Paqueras, Fernandez, and Zuratuza as well. But how are we going to get on as we head into qualifying? Only time will tell.
We're back at the circuit for the second Moto3 qualifying session. The first riders are about to get out on track and battle their way to the best grid positions for tomorrow's race.
Well, I found myself saying it a lot recently in qualifying, but again, where we've got another circuit with such a long lap, trying to make sure that we get out and we get as many qualifying laps under our belt as soon as possible is going to be really, really critical here. I was happy with the 202 I set in free practice. Will we see any of our top riders, though, get down into the 201s? And can we at least get close or, in fact, join them there as using all of the curb through turn 1? Yeah, you've really got to make this venue as wide as you can get away with. Well, this is certainly going to be a circuit as well, as we move into the race where a bit of restraint early on is going to be really, really critical, trying to stay out of trouble and, you know, avoiding other riders as well. I feel like turn 1 is just asking for trouble here, that tight 90-degree left-hander. And then, yeah, a lot of the rest of the lap as well. Riders trying to switch back each other, you know, going for dives into corners and potentially upsetting other riders to try and claim places. As we make our way, though, through the final corner to finish off our first lap. Didn't quite get the line right through that final turn. Up towards the line, though, it is going to be a 203.1 still. I'm happy with that as a banker. But he's very, very good as well, following some of the other riders around, learning where they're strong, learning where we're strong, learning some of the different lines as well that different people are taking. That corner through there is really, really horrible, right up on the peninsula, because it just tightens up halfway through and then it opens back up again. So Farioli, I think he wanted to have a look back down the inside there, but we just avoided contact with him. Another 4/10 up, though, on this lap at the moment, is now up behind Riccardo Rossi. A couple of the curbs here as well are just a very, very easy way to find yourself flat on your face. You try and run a little bit wider on the exit of the corner. 8/10 up at the moment is Suzuki, already now shattering that 201 marker to a 1.8 for him, as we're just a few hundredths of a second behind Vietti. One final corner, though, to go of the lap. Tip it in. I actually like to go for quite a late apex, because it means you can get on the throttle early and really try to carry the speed back up towards the start-finish line. See, they're making that work to our advantage. We're going to be over a second up, a 2:02.004 there. Puts us just 1/10 of a second behind Suzuki. I think grip is up here in qualifying, and it's allowing us to really push to the all-out limits down the inside of Rossi, who likes to make contact with anybody he can. Oh, come on, one more corner to go, and we are now side by side with David Alonso. To the surprise of anybody that's been regularly watching this series, Tatsuki Furusato now up to the top of the board as we try and tip the bike into that final corner again. Oh, Alonso, what is that, man? And immediately he's come off his bike as well. We better not get a penalty for that. He absolutely flung it in, ruined both of our lap times by trying to be far too aggressive, and we've got to go for another one. Well, there we go. I called it. Colin Vire, a banzai lap right towards the end of qualifying there, sees himself on pole ahead of David Alonso. Suzuki in P3 ahead of my new rival Rueda, with Furusato actually down in P5 come the end of the session. Time seemed to improve for other riders when I really did fall off right towards the end of the session there. But we did still out-qualify Joel Esteban, which I suppose isn't too bad as well. But as we move into the race, though, we are going to be lining up P11, so let's wait and see as to how we get on.
Welcome to all you MotoGP fans. Gavin Emmett here, and we are live from Alcañiz, ready to bring you the Aragon Grand Prix. In a few moments, we'll move to the main straight to watch the start of the Moto3 race. We're moving to the live feed on the starting grid, where everything is now ready for the start of the race. The weather is clear and temperatures are far from extreme. However, tyre wear will play a very important factor in today's race. That's why lots of riders have been using medium tyres in the front and rear.
Well, taking a look then at our strategy. For some reason, I've got an irregular pit entry, long lap penalty, which I'm not quite sure how we ended up with. Unfortunately, I also don't know. I think the long lap penalty is down around the back of the track on the horrible corner I was talking about. So that's not ideal as we head into this one. The team are also hoping for a top 5 finish. So I think this one is going to be quite difficult today. But there's only one way we can go about things.
From the back of the grid at Aragon, everything ready for the off. Into first gear, full gas and off we go.
Yeah, there's only one way we can deal with things on this game, and that's by trying to ride as quickly as we possibly can. 10 red lights here at Motorland Aragon, and it's going to be lights out, and away we go then. So let's wait and see as to what happens into turn 1 of a 7-lap race. We just want to try and stay out of trouble, and clearly the rider behind me felt differently. Immediately, yeah, everybody trying to dive in. We actually find an avenue around the outside, which opens up the inside, ready for turn 2. And we're going to get the elbows out then. Everybody else seemingly doing so. So as am I. There is Holgado immediately, I see, taking a lot of curb up at the top of the hill. I feel like this year is probably going to end up being a race of just damage limitation once again, especially with those couple of penalties. But it's going to also be a circuit where we see a lot of long lap penalties for other riders as well. So as we try and make our way then onto this little straight. Yeah, now mentally trying to prepare myself for the long lap penalty. And luckily, yeah, you do get this nice little kind of heads-up display now that will show up for you. As in we go. Don't believe it's too bad of one around here either. I don't believe it costs you too much time, as the assisted long lap penalty there will really help me out. It's a welcome feature. Anybody that watched early on in this series will know the struggles I had. I believe it was back at Riccardo Tormo. Well, annoyingly, yeah, my big title rival in Tatsuki Suzuki is now leading the way at the front. It is back to the start of the year. Suzuki and Furusato seemingly battling for it as Riccardo, Rossi and Farioli. Not sure what they're doing there with each other, but we'll go down the inside of the pair of them. And we'll try and get back to the racing line there. Farioli sending it really, really deep into the corner, but not quite deep enough. Around the outside we'll go of him. So yeah, even with that long lap penalty then, we have gained quite a bit of time and a couple of places on this opening lap. We're already starting to see a bit of a breakaway by some of our front-running riders. I like to break early into turn 1, but boy oh boy does it make me feel vulnerable as down the inside of our teammate Holgado will go. Angel Paqueras up next. Down the inside of Paqueras. Oh, he just tried to nudge me a little bit in towards the corner, so we'll kind of shake him off on the exit. Yeah, we're making good moves though early on, as Nepa, haven't seen him right up towards the front running group a lot throughout the last few rounds. But yeah, we'll try and get rid of both these long lap penalties as early as we possibly can then, so as we make our way back in once more. Like I said, it's not the worst long lap penalty in the world actually around this venue, and luckily it seems to always give you a little bit of leeway as well on the exits of them, so they're both served. Continue on with the race. And it actually gives you a nice line off the exit of that corner as well then, as around the outside of our teammate Holgado will have a look. Seem to be able to brake slightly later on the way in, but then the AI get very, very physical there, as Holgado and I are going to work together to very aggressively move Paqueras out the way. Well, I haven't spoke about it much so far in this game, but I must admit I am a huge fan as well of the other storylines it kind of gives you, you know, those challenges that can happen over the course of different races. You know, just give you that little bit extra each and every weekend to kind of think about, kind of discuss, and obviously all those things that you have to factor in. I mean, even with the long lap penalty, our best lap only 7/10 away from David Alonso, so hopefully we're about to see that delta absolutely skyrocket. We've got good pace here. We are in this fight. But what does sometimes confuse me in this game as well is it feels like you actually have to use your track limit warnings kind of to your advantage. You kind of feel a bit robbed if you don't use 4 of the 5 available to you over the course of an afternoon. So I think people, yeah, can be quite strategic with them as well, as we've closed up the gap to Stefano Nepa. Looks like all the top riders, though, finding more pace now as Rida into the 201.4s. We've got those 3 riders really scrapping it out right at the very front. But I need them to cost each other a bit more time if I want to get a look in. 3 laps to go. I reckon, yeah, obviously 6th is right there. Top 5 are all still incredibly bunched up. But if we could get in that fight, then I see no reason why we couldn't move through quite quick. Around the outside of Stefano Neppa, try and take him a little bit by surprise. And we're through. Well, I didn't think I'd ever be rooting for him inside this series, but I actually want to see Furusato win today. Because, of course, Ruida and Suzuki, 2 of my big championship rivals still. I mean, that last lap, his new fastest lap of the day, I thought we were very, very close to it. So happy, you know, that we're still able to find a little bit more. That's not the line I need through turn 2, though. We are pushing this bike to its absolute limits, but I'm just starting to feel I'm overriding slightly. I just want to have a look in with that top 5 before the end. Because that, I think, is going to be, yep, another track limits warning as well. Like I said, you got to use them or lose them. To admit, I'm absolutely staggered that we haven't seen anybody pick up long lap penalties today. I'm even more impressed the fact that Suzuki, and a couple of others, to be fair, haven't even picked up a warning throughout this race going on. But as we make our way, though, through the final lap, I don't think you can ever argue we haven't got the AI balance pretty much perfect inside this game at the moment. I'm not too sure what that line was. Quite possibly the worst warning I'll ever get on this game. It is all still to play for, though, between 2 of my championship rivals and our championship leader. I never thought I'd say it, but I really want to see Furusato win here today. 1 more corner to go. Are we going to see a lunge by Tatsuki Suzuki into that final hairpin? It looks like he's got through on the slipstream, but Furusato trying to defend the inside line in towards the final corner. Will it be Suzuki back on top for the first time since very early on in the season? Or will Furusato just about hang on? I think Suzuki's going to do it. He's going to be back on top here today. And nothing between our top 3 riders, but we come through for P6.
Let's take a look at the final results of this Moto3 race. The riders are returning to the pits and we'll soon join them in Parc Ferme for the usual post-race interviews.
Well, there we go. It is Suzuki that takes the win by just 0.5 of a second there at the end of the day. So brilliant riding between our top 2. Ruida watched on, but he couldn't quite get a win at home ahead of Alonso Via and myself there, with Stefano Neppa, Joel Esteban Holgado, and Riccardo Rossi rounding out the top 10. In terms then of our standings, Furusato 58 points now his gap over Joel Esteban. Suzuki though now building up a 24-point lead over myself as Ruida just 4 points further back. So yeah, we're really going to have to try and find our rhythm towards the end of the campaign. Red Bull Gas as well, 3 points back from KTM Aho there. But thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when MotoGP returns. I think we've got 1 race and then we're out in India, but I don't know where we're racing next.